The I Ching is a living transmission of the divine, of consciousness. The I Ching, the Book of Change, is a map of the 64 changing cosmic frequencies of life, of consciousness. This is an ancient wisdom from thousands of years ago that was used to track and harmonize with the forces of nature in order to guide the people, an empire, a civilization. In the 1960s, humanity discovered the 64 genetic codons, our DNA. Magically, they have the same mathematical formula, the same exact geometry as the 64 I Chings. Every 6 days, the sun activates one of these 64 I Ching frequencies, which activates within us a corresponding genetic codon, which stimulates our consciousness, the theme of the life. When we enter into contemplation with a particular I Ching, especially with the I Ching the sun activates each week, then life sends us the experiences we need to unlock the shadow, which raises our vibration and awakens the divine within. The intention of this video is to serve you in the highest blessed way. This is abstract energy of sensing, so receive this message with your heart and body. This week, the sun within us, consciousness, life, activates the 45th I Ching. The transformational path of this frequency moves us from the shadow of dominance to the highest vibration of communion, and it's through the path of synergy. The 45th I Ching frequency has held our planet in its grips for eons, especially the shadow. It's all about dominance. Dominance of the male over the female, of the teacher over the child, of the left brain over the right brain, all kinds of dominance. It's also the dominance of the few over the many. We're all caught up in this game of dominance. It will always be the few that rise to the top. That's how it works. And this is such an obvious human dilemma because it's all about insecurity. We have fallen out of trust. At some point in our early childhood, we got the distinct impression that this isn't a safe world, and our whole being contracts and constricts, and this is a learned reflex. The shadow frequencies are all connected to the old parts of the brain, the animal, the primal. When we look at nature, we see how all animals have to compete to survive, and that's what it means to be an animal. So if we're a gazelle, we're competing with a lion. But we humans are no longer animal in that sense. We still have those unconscious memories, but we have also evolved to a completely more advanced operating system. We are only just learning that there are other ways. Perhaps we don't need to compete with each other to survive. The shadow frequency and its fear, it doesn't see any of that. It only feels unsafe. And safety is a deep feeling in our cells, in our being. And when we give into fear, we lose touch with the whole, and we start feeling deeply unsafe and insecure. We cave into the weight of the shadow, and we forget that we're supported by the whole of life. When we look at the 45th I Ching, it seems a long way from dominance to communion, as we could see this story written everywhere. No matter how hard we try, the old patterns creep back. Because of the way we set up our modern world, it has become the norm to compete with each other, and it begins the moment we step out the door, and for many of us, it's even there before we step out the door. It begins inside us. It begins whenever we allow fear in, our fear of lack or our mistrust of the whole. We have to remember that we are safe. That is what maturity means, remembering how to breathe again, remembering what it means to be human. We have to overcome our insecurity in the world that is run by the frequency of dominance. And that is the challenge, how to feel safe in a world that doesn't really easily let us relax. We rarely feel truly secure in our own skin, in the body. If we did, we would feel safe even in the face of challenges, of our suffering. So our suffering is where the journey begins. It's supposed to begin there. It's to wake us up. When we learn to listen to the feelings of unsafetyness inside the body, our attention to it, our awareness of it, dissipates it. It begins to melt it. So the shadow is a good thing because it leads us in the direction of the heart. And many don't want to own their own fear, so they externalize it as dominance. And they try to take over a part of the world, own it, or hold on to it. We all know this urge. Life seems to be slipping away, so we want to hold on to something. So much of the shadow is about ownership and holding on. In the modern world, here in the West, almost every acre of land has some piece of paper attached to it, with laws and decrees, disputes that all have been part of its history, and we really feel the need to own territory. Look deeply into life. How deeply do we hold on to things we think we own? Do you feel you need more? There's nothing wrong with owning a piece of space that you call home, but it's only temporary. We all know this deep down, but we don't act like it. We act as though we could take it with us. It's only when we approach the end that we begin to loosen our grip. Of course, there are those who live more lightly. We have to learn this in a masculine dominating world. We have really set up ourselves for stress. I know this may be a negative picture of the world, but it's only because I'm aware of what lies at the end of this rainbow, of this city, the higher vibration of the 45th I Ching. So how do we overcome our insecurities and remember that we're truly safe? It's the same answer in all the 64 I Chings. Face the shadow, feel it, embrace it, allow it to be as long as needed. Get to know the nature of the fear that lies inside you. And when you do feel it, you give it the space it needs inside. It will be transformed. And behind it lies trust, an expansive feeling that everything is fine. Life is still beautiful, even with difficulties. The game of dominance runs deep, very deep, but one day it will give way to something magical. The 45th gift, the way to alchemize the shadow and raise the vibration, synergy. Synergy can be applied into many dimensions and has many meanings. We come into synergy when we're in a state of trust, unity with the whole. When all the genetic codons within our DNA, our cells, create a harmonic resonance, it's like when you put a magnet beneath a piece of paper that is covered with iron filings, and they all form this beautiful organized pattern. But the magnet field itself in the pattern is invincible, and the universe is like that. Trust is like that. We just come into alignment with the whole of the cosmos. We feel calm, at ease, no matter what we're going through. Synergy takes place like this on an individual level within the chemistry of our DNA, and it also takes place collectively as we come into alignment with each other. Synergy is a bit of a buzzword that is often applied to a group dynamic that is functioning smoothly creatively. Once we realize that we no longer have to compete with each other in order to survive and thrive, the next stage is to figure out how to work together, and this can be a great challenge. But the 45th I Ching is an expert at this. It is not so much about teamwork as much as it's about facilitation. And that's because the 45th gift knows that any group has its own self-organized principle. And if it's given enough time and space, it will eventually find a natural higher harmony. Every group has its own identity, chemistry, and higher purpose. But it's quite a journey to get there. We have to navigate the collective shadow, which is often expressed through an individual or certain individuals. And those individuals, we have to realize, they're carrying the shadow for the whole group. So the group has to work through that. And it can be a very creative, empowering purpose for everyone. But it does require commitment, empathy, patience, and of course, trust. So synergy is like a healing wave that rushes through the human genome. It balances and equalizes different chemistries, making a group, a higher group awareness possible. And this is our future awareness. Any group that comes together for a higher purpose can experience this transformation. The wave of synergy is an aspect of the evolutionary impulse at work. It's the creative field of transformation, as the old themes of dominance are set aside in favor of the new awareness. So this self-organized principle, it exists in all levels of the cosmos, and it's even there within the shadow frequency. You see, for a long time, scientists have thought that life moves from order towards chaos, until a man named Mandelbrot discovered the existence of universal patterns, which he called fractals. He noticed that within chaos, certain patterns can be discerned. So life creates itself in wild organic patterns, and it isn't a neatly clipped rose garden. So when we allow life, trust life, it naturally tends towards evolution. It seeks a higher manifestation. And this is where trust stems from and synergy comes in. It uses the interference patterns of the shadow to create a higher order, which is magical. This higher order already exists in another dimension. It's hidden behind all world events, the hidden harmony. And when we find it, we have found gold. Because the hidden harmony is synergistic. It brings things and people together as it catalyzes their various counterparts, making the whole exponentially more powerful. As I stated earlier, the ultimate synergy takes place within our DNA, as different chemical components are fused and combined to create this higher functioning. And that is what genius is. It's the higher functioning within the human DNA. It's the power that is locked up inside each and every one of us. The 45th city, the highest vibration, communion. Sunday, the 7th day of the week. In almost every religion, there's a tradition of having a day or two of rest. And on this day, we put aside our busyness and we either pray or eat, sleep or fast, and spend time with the family and loved ones. Whatever we do, it isn't supposed to be about work, which is the origin of the word holiday, holy day. The day that is put aside for contemplation, for the essential. If you have ever got up early on a Sunday morning and gone outside, there's this aura hanging over the land. It seems even that the birds are in on it. Let's call it Sunday consciousness, a descending silence that sets the day apart. It feels as though the world has just been born. The buzzing of all the busyness is still. And the funny thing about this feeling, it's a total illusion. It's fake. It's fabricated. We humans made up the days of the week. They aren't natural rhythms. They are purely social. So Sunday consciousness gives us a glimpse of something else, of a possibility. What if the world was more like that all the time? The 45th city concerns the nature of prosperity and what a prosperous civilization might look like. Money is our great symbol of the value of time. Money makes the world go around. Money is what gives us 1 day a week off and 3 to 4 weeks a year. Does that seem natural? This Sunday consciousness is my way of being. It's my inner truth. And some would say, what would you do with all that time? We only really ask these type of questions when we don't know how to pause and let life in. Our world is infinitely beautiful, and most people only see that on their deathbed. The silence, the spaciousness, the bliss, the trust. No more, why am I here? What do I need to do? Just being here is enough. Imagine dying after a life like that. It wouldn't be any different than living. Just coming and going, the timelessness, the forever now. Communion is the entering into harmony with all the creatures and its elements. I don't see this as idealistic. For me, it's logical. It's magical. I empower you this week to create space, get to higher awareness, notice your thoughts, feel all the sensations fully that come up in the body. Shine the light of awareness to dominance, the fear of lack, insecurity. Feel it deeply. Breathe in, breathe out. Remember, love yourself and choose to be blessed.